It has been so hard to record this video on the birds and the bees. And I think that's a testament of just how hard it is for us as parents to broach this really important topic with our kids. I want to thank the Twinkle Gigi for getting me into this mess, but thank you for leaving your comment in my comment section of the period video. I feel a strong responsibility to be the one to guide my kids in this area. Just because whether we want them to know it about it or not, I feel that our culture is really entrenched in sexual images and sex talk, and a lot of it goes so much against my own principles, my family's principles, our faith. We're a Christian family, and what we'd really like to see for our kids. So as a result, I find that I'm having to be aware of this when my kids are much younger than I've had to be aware of it before. And so these kind of talks have even begun with Miss Mocha Baby. I'm sure many of you have heard of good touch, bad touch. And so, I've been convicted that sex is not just about the final act of, the man's body part coming together with the woman's body part. It also involves touching, personal space, and things like that. And in that sense, I feel that a 5-year-old needs to have a conversation with their parents about, who is it okay to kiss? Who is it okay to hug? How close is it okay to allow people to get? Personal space, and also body language and understanding another person's body language. And in the case of Ms. Mocha Baby, since she's our youngest child, she gets a lot of attention. She's in a big family. Someone's always hugging her or kissing her or pulling her into their lap. And so we've had to tell her, that little boy, that's your friend. I know you really love him, but you don't need to be kissing him all over his face. And you don't always need to be giving him a hug all of the time. And so we talk about modesty. We talk about, even in our family where we're all comfortable with each other, Ms. Mocha Baby, we tell her, don't just jump out of the bathtub and, run to your room completely unclothed. We talk about what's appropriate for her, and how to, and I like to tell them, to protect the special areas of your body. But one thing that I'm really convicted about is that in an effort to make sure my kids are not doing too much too soon, I want to make sure that when I talk about sex, that there's no negativity attached to it, because it's not something evil or something bad. I try to teach them that it's something wonderful, it's something good, it's something that you really need to look forward to within the right context. And we are a Christian family, and I don't feel embarrassed, and I don't feel old-fashioned or ashamed to tell my kids that I believe that sex is something that needs to happen between a husband and a wife. It's not something that's kind of like the buffet where, let's try it with this guy and let's see what we like with that guy and go from here to here to here to here. And I tell my kids, because we're more than just physical beings, we're spiritual beings. And, sex is not just a physical act, it's a spiritual act. And we release things and we receive things when we're having sex, and it can be damaging if you're doing that with the wrong person, or if you're giving off too much, or if you're receiving too much. It affects you. And I think these kinds of conversations are fertile ground for other life lessons. Delayed gratification, learning how to make good choices and understand that the choices that you make lead to consequences that you can't control. And I always talk to my kids about the fact that, my husband and I waited until we were married to have sex. And we talked about the sacrifices that we had to make in order for that to be true. A lot of people think that as long as you don't have you don't do the final act of, coming together, as a man and a woman, it's okay to experiment with all kinds of other things. But I tell my teenagers in particular not to trust your ability to have self-control when you've just enticed yourself too much. All that kissing and touching. I mean, how far are you going to be able to go before you actually do that? And so we talk about how, we try to make sure that we didn't spend too much time alone together or put ourselves in a place where we had the opportunity to go farther than we had made a choice that we were going to go. And that led to us being able to be successful. And these type of things are not mirrored in the movies that we watch and the TV shows that we watch, and even what we see other couples and other families doing around us. So in my house, there's always a conversation about, why we're choosing not to follow the crowd, or, why we think these things are inappropriate. And so I have these kind of conversations with my teenagers because I tell them all the time, please don't just say yes, yes, I agree, when in your mind you're having questions and you're having different thoughts. I tell them, tell me what you really think. You're not going to get punished or penalized. And then we talk through it, and we talk through, why we're saying the things that we're saying, and why we're putting certain, what we like to call, guardrails in place, so that you don't just veer off and make the choice you had said you weren't going to make. When it comes to the actual mechanics of sex, I do, when my kids are like around 8 or 9, I do tell them, this is what sex is. This body part comes into contact with that body part, and their response is always, ew, that's disgusting, I would never want to experience that, I would never want that to happen to me. And yeah, we laugh, and sometimes we get silly with it, but I always make sure I tell them, that's fine, you can feel that way now, it's fine, but I always like to plant that nugget that, but ultimately it's not bad, it's not nasty, one day you will feel differently about that, and that's healthy, and that's okay. Now, one last thing I'll say is that when the kids are very young, I really like to follow their lead. Sometimes we'll be watching a movie or something, and a scene will come across that I didn't know was going to be in the movie, and maybe someone younger than I'd like might have seen it, or I see that weird look on their face. I always make sure I'm looking at everybody to see how people are responding to things, and so say it's Mocha baby. I don't want to give her more information than what she's ready for or that she can understand. So I'll ask her, so what are you thinking? What, maybe after the movie's over, or what, I could catch her alone. What did you think about that? And maybe I thought in my mind, I would think that when she saw that scene, she was thinking, they're about to have sex. But maybe they didn't show that in the movie, but adults can understand the context that that's what's about to happen. Maybe I'm thinking that, but maybe Miss Mocha baby, that went over her head. But what the reason she had that look on her face was because she thought, ew, his mouth touched her mouth, so does that mean a little bit of his spit got in her mouth? That's nasty. And that's what the look on her face was about. So what I'm going to do in that case is I'm going to talk to her about, like, yeah, ew, yeah, you're right, ew, maybe a little spit did get, ew, that might seem a little nasty to you right now. You know what I'm saying? And that's the level of information I'm going to give her, because I do want to preserve her innocence as much as possible. So I don't want to give her too much, but at the same time, I want to make sure that she's not picking up things that aren't true or being confused when she doesn't need to be confused. And so, excuse me, I follow that principle with all of my kids. And I let everyone know that there's no stupid feelings or stupid thoughts or wrong answers. Be honest, tell me what you're thinking. Let's all get it on the table. And more importantly, with my teens, as your parents, we want to come alongside you and help you through this process. We want to be the ones. Don't go to your girlfriends, don't go to your boys, and that's who you're getting all of this advice from. We want to be right there with you. Our experience counts for something, and our love for you counts for something. And so far, we've been very successful with Head Mocha Girl and my son. We've been really successful in getting him to feel like he can talk to us, or he can be heard, or we respect where he is. And we understand, how difficult it is even to adopt, this kind of lifestyle in the culture that we're living in right now.